I thought you were talking to Rosalie.
Broccoli, your sheep hear your voice. Okay, that's how it works.
Okay, and
Let he who have ears hear.
on my name, do you guys see Blee Glazer or does it say Brookie Lee this time?
Brookie
Lee.
It says Brookie Lee.
Okay, fantastic.
Your true holy name.
And we're live.
The Most High.
Woohoo!
We are live. Nexus.
Yay.
James the Idol Smasher at gmail.com is the place to go if you want to get in touch with me, or you can join the Nilvah Nexus Facebook and Google Plus groups on Facebook and Google Plus. We do this every Thursday, and we're going to talk about tonight. Of course, we start Shemos, we start Exodus tonight as far as our Torah portion of the week. Topic of the evening is Torah and health. You know, I think that a lot of people might think that Torah and the teachings of Torah are either very religious or very spiritual. And I always pride Torah in being very practical. And I think as far as health goes, not just your mental and spiritual health, but your physical health is guided by Torah law as well. So I thought we might discuss that. I know Brookie Lee or Hadassah's wanted to join in on this conversation. She has some stuff to say. I was going to read parts out of there's a section about Jewish dietary law called Beyond the Limb of a Living Animal out of the World of the Ger by Rabbis Chlorfine and Katz. There's a great section on there that kind of goes over and explains things, you know, about dietary law and how they affect the Noahide and why we should maybe aspire to be better than that. In the description of the event tonight, I did say it was something to aspire to. Eating kosher, it's actually one of the things that you're full on allowed to do that nobody can get you for. You know, everyone's going to say something about whether you can, you know, say Shabbat Shalom as a non-Jew without, you know, there's all kinds of, oh, we don't want to confuse the Noahides with this, with the, you know, with more Torah than they can handle. We don't want to hurt them. One thing that is full on that nobody can get you for is going kosher. And getting closer to kosher. So without further ado, Hadassah, what do you got for us? What's on your mind about this topic? I know it's a passionate topic for you, and we've kind of, in fact, last week, I think we probably could have turned the hangout into a Torah Health Hangout if we kept going. But I mean, you're in the process of converting, and so I bet you're far more aware of the food around you now than you ever had been before. Any opening statements, anything it's on your mind about it you want to bring up first?
So for people who don't know me, hang on, I'm echoing.
James,
we can't hear you. I can't hear you.
We're getting feedback from you, James.
Well, then I'll just mute. How about that?
All right. Okay, I'm not hearing myself now. That works. So as far as people who don't know me, I am actually a patient educator. I'm graduating this May, and I'm beginning my career in patient education. And my biggest favorite topic to talk about, and I've spent most of past semester, you know, writing all my papers about this, is health promotion in the Jewish community itself. And we've had numerous writings, very particular, in namely the Rambam, on health and how we should take care of ourselves. And also, although it's not explicitly stated in the Torah, the Talmud derives from Deuteronomy 4:15, and you shall guard yourself very well. So going forward, Maimonides in his magnum opus states the body being healthy is one of the ways of the Lord, for it is impossible to understand or know the Creator while unwell. Therefore, he should keep away which destroy the body and accustom himself to healthy and curing matters.
You were saying that one cannot know God while unwell.
Hi, Ross.
Yes, while unwell, he cannot have the knowledge of the Creator unwell, because you're not able to study Torah or, you know, perform mitzvah when you are unwell.
Oh. Shalom, Ross. Welcome. I one time had said something, and I'd said it a few times way back in the day when I first started talking to people about this, that all disease has a spiritual cause. I don't know if anybody in here would go for that, but I really think that something to look forward to in the world to come. There will be no disease or sickness.
I agree to some extent with what you said.
So I'm wondering, yeah, if there is spiritual, if it's a collective spirituality that keeps certain diseases around, but there is a spiritual center to sickness. And with what you just said there, Kadasa, that would seem to jibe. Definitely.
Yeah, so the purpose, James, can you turn your
Let me turn my mic off. Hang on a second. Hold on. Sorry. Shut up.
Okay, so yes, we know that the purpose now of keeping ourselves healthy is not just to be healthy. It's not because it's medical literature, it's because it's good for us. It's because we cannot do our purpose in this world. Whether you are a Noahide or a Jew or someone in process, if you're a Noahide, you can't keep the laws the way you're supposed to. And if you're a Jew, you certainly won't be able to get out of bed in the morning and daven and then go learn all day and then, take care of the family. There are certain things that even Noahides have to do. You're supposed to pray. You should pray every day. And, you can't serve God appropriately when you're laid up in the bed and you can't move. Whether that's because you're having, you've had a heart attack or a stroke, or you have, maybe some diabetes complications. And I mean, you have to take care of yourself. And the way to do that is through preventative health. And for the Rambam is actually all through diet. Like most of what he preaches about diet and exercise. And so I think that's what I'm going to kind of focus on tonight. And I think that's what we should focus on that and the aspect of diet, especially through eiver hachai, which is our big mitzvah.
Welcome, Justin B. Everybody type 1 for Justin B. Welcome.
Howdy, Justin.
Shalom, shalom.
Hey, Rob.
So when you think about it, I mean, back in even in the Rambam's day, there was people were much more robust, weren't they? As far as fitness, that was almost a given to some degree. Unless you were a fat cat and didn't work at all, it was people tended to be more healthier. And now we've entered into an age where many of us sit all day.
Exactly. And the main problem is that in recent generations, food has been so widely available that we just choose what we want to eat, which is usually things that are, high in fats and carbohydrates and sugars and highly processed food. But also the abundance of it, because sometimes we eat when we're not even hungry because, we're watching a movie, so we're going to have a ton of snacks, but we're not hungry at all. So we're actually consuming a bunch of excess calories that we don't even need.
Yeah, if I may, I was working in an office environment before my retirement, and you're sitting at a desk 8-10 hours a day. You're bored. You can't get up and walk away from the desk too many times, not very often. And that's exactly what you do there. You sit there and eat because you're bored. Little popcorn, little candy, little whatever. You go sit down and eat lunch, and then you come back and sit at your desk. It's terrible. It's vicious.
I work night shift, so I kind of do the same thing. I can't leave the desk either, and I'm trying to fight my body's natural cycle, which that will end in the next couple of months because I found out this week that the hospital's closing. I'm gonna be losing my job, but everything will be fine. But yes, I totally relate to sitting at a desk and like constantly eating snacks.
There's a term I learned recently and found out it's something I do. It's called stress eating. If ever the wife and I get in an argument, of course I never win. First thing I want to do is go into the fridge and find something to stuff in my face, and then hate myself later for doing it. Just
you don't know the rule about arguing, right?
don't.
No. The woman always has the last word in every argument.
Mhm.
Anything you say beyond that is the beginning of an entirely new argument.
Amen. Okay, let's start with the law. Let's start with eiver min hachai, the limb of a living animal. I've got my trusty divine code here because it does mention the law, and they're all about law when it comes to Noahide code. And I thought it might be pertinent. What can we learn about health from the law? That's the one thing I'm getting is when something's kosher, it's not necessarily healthy. You can gorge yourself on kosher food and still, and still have problems.
Oreos are kosher.
Or what's that?
I said Oreos are kosher.
Oreos are kosher. Yes, they are. Tabasco sauce is culture. Tabasco sauce. I think that'll cure cancer. I love Tabasco. Everything should have Tabasco except ice cream. I don't do Tabasco on ice cream.
From your mouth to
Just about
God's
everything.
ears, James. From your mouth to God's ears.
What does it mean to be healthy, Torah style? I can look at like the foods. But when it comes to exercise, see, I always heard that Jews are supposed to basically study all day. How does one keep fit? Is it a matter of becoming a gerbil and walking a treadmill? Which I never liked. I can't do fitness clubs. I've had free memberships. I lived at a place that had a health center, and I could never thing. What is it? How does one find health in Torah? How does that affect our physical world? What do you think, John? Any ideas?
That's a good question. I'm not sure what to say to that.
I mean, I could have properly treated animals all day, and I'd probably still have the same,
Right.
I don't have a six-pack. I have a keg.
That's a good question. Actually, you know what? I don't even really know what to say. It's a difficult question to answer.
All right.
Anyone else has an answer? Anyone else wants to take a bite at that?
Sure, I'll try.
I want to hear everybody else first because I'm talking a lot.
Well, let's rephrase James. Let's hear the question one more time. What was your question?
Okay. I want to lean toward physical health. Okay. I want to go to physical fitness to some degree.
Sure. You want to be an Ubermensch. We hear you.
We know we're spiritually supposed to be healthy in Torah, being no evil speech, and there's certain things we can do, sure. But when it comes to like physical health, health and fitness, what do we learn from Torah? What comes to your mind? How does it affect you? What What's the first thing? I've got something here, but just off the top of everyone's head.
We have a long laundry list of things we could do to keep ourselves spiritually healthy from a Torah's perspective. You want to hear the list of how we can keep ourselves physically healthy. Is that where you're at?
Well, I would like it to get down to that, yes. Brooke asked, physical fitness focused, or at least leaning. It all, mind, body, and spirit truly are one. But we separate them in our minds. So we kind of have to compartmentalize some things. How do we get some physical fitness out of Torah? What does Torah teach us? I know that, I mean, look, okay, that go ahead. Who's next? Who wants to go?
I'll give it a shot.
Ross, go for it.
Well, up until quite recently, actually, past couple of 100 years anyway, most people walked where they had to go. At best, you'd ride a horse. But there was an awful lot of walking. If you wanted to go anywhere, you had to walk. And now our cars get us incredible distances with little or no effort. And anything longer than a 4 or 5 hour trip, you're probably going to pull over somewhere and maybe wind up finding something to snack on because you're bored because you're driving. But the Rambam also suggested that if you do, well, you should, anybody should, everybody should, 4 times a week minimum, 30-minute brisk walk. Okay, for anybody. That's in your World of the Care book that you related to last week. But again, too, there are people that have limitations, bad hips, bad ankles, feet that hurt, whatever. And walking might actually be a problem. But my first thought when I started thinking through a lot of this too was that why should I try to put 20 gallons of food in a 10-gallon tank? My tank will reach 20 gallons if I keep putting 20 gallons worth of food. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So my next thought was, if I learn to do with less, I will be less. Because I don't know how many times over the course of the years I've had to go buy jeans because I lost a lot of weight, buy some more jeans because I gained the weight, yada, yada, shirts, the shoes always fit. I don't know why that is. But I've learned. Don't. But I've learned that, my problem for a long time, and it still is. I'm not putting 20 in a 10 anymore. I'm down to about 15. But if I just learn to use my thoughts and my brain a little bit and say, look, I don't need as much as I think I do. I can absolutely get by on less. And I've proven that. For a while, I was running on somewhere between 800 and 1,200 calories a day. But mind you, I'm working at a desk. Everything you read, all your packages say, based on a 2,000 calorie per day diet. Everything you read, look at it. And I'm like, well, why the hell do I need 2,000 calories? I'm not burning half that just sitting here. So I started to cut back, and I managed to get between 8 and 1,200 calories. I'm not going to say I lost a significant amount of weight, but I did lose some weight, and I did manage to maintain that loss simply by not indulging in the I'm bored to tears eating, stress because I had a stressful phone call. Somebody really got on my nerves, so now I'm going to go get me a piece of candy. Whatever. If you learn to control that and just realize that, hey, this is my number. I picked a number, and I tried to shoot for 1,200 a day maximum. Just pick that number. Count everything you eat. And yeah, okay, there's going to be days when 1,200 just aren't going to cut it. Okay, but I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot just because I had a bad day. I'll make it up somewhere else down the road. But try to just pick a target, aim for it, and realize that there'll be times when you'll miss the mark, but at least you have a mark. It is, if you can stay focused on it, that should help. My observation. Anybody else?
I remember reading once, maybe Hadassah remembers more to it. I remember reading the Maimonides, and he gives actually a detailed, because he was actually a physician, and he was a dietitian actually. Maimonides, he was a brilliant man. Not only was he brilliant in the world of Torah, he was a scientist, he was a doctor, he was a whole bunch of different things, astrologer.
He was actually he was like considered the prince of physicians. He actually took care of the royal court where at his time, and he was actually the toppest physician, and a lot of his cures and stuff are actually still relevant today.
Yes, that's what I was going to get into. He actually has he wrote, I don't remember where it is, but he wrote an exact list of foods, how one should eat during the day. What exactly is your body? He went all through this: body type, height, weight, what type of race you were, what type of body type, all of this, and what you should eat, what you should drink, how much, how little. I've gone through all of it. It's actually brilliant. Maybe we could find it. Does someone know what that is? Someone knows what I'm talking about?
I took notes from it, but I didn't. I was kind of waiting to get everyone's thoughts before.
Oh, okay. So you're already on top of it. Never mind. All right.
Yeah, guys, I took like probably about 2 pages of type notes before the thing.
I've got a rundown of about 18 things. It's adopted from the Mishnah, or from excuse me, not the Mishnah. Where's my head? Yeah, from the Mishnah, I guess. Yeah. Brookie Lee, anything you want to add?
Not from Torah. I mean, this discussion has kind of gone beyond what Torah is suggesting, or the Jews. But if we're just talking health-wise, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that work really well. There's the ketogenic diet that basically gets rid of a lot of carbs and sugars and goes back to basically veggies and fruit and meat and dairy. And when you do that, you can lose weight pretty quickly. That's actually the most effective way that my husband and I have lost weight in recent months. And then there's intermittent fasting, where you don't eat, for 16 hours and you only have an 8-hour eating window. There's things like that you can do that allows your body to work the way that it's supposed to. Because the thing is, you eat a meal and it takes 8 hours to fully get everything out of your system before your body kicks into burning fat and healing scar tissue and healing yourself. So if our stomach isn't so focused on digesting things that we shouldn't be eating in the first place, then it's like super powerful in how effective it is at healing the rest of us. But again, that's not Torah centered. That's just what my research and experience has brought me.
I would like to argue that your current medical literature is actually Torah related, because the Rambam said that if a person is sick, then he should go whatever the current medical literature says and what his physician recommends.
Yeah, it's actually we have fun people that are our neighbors, our relatives, and there's a lot of them that says, well, I'm not going to the doctor. Jesus gonna heal me. That's actually like one of the biggest sins one person can do. Big sin. Big. People don't realize how big it is.
Really?
you are required to, according to halakha, to go to a doctor.
That I don't know. I was having seizures during one of my pregnancies, and I went to a doctor who prescribed something, and my mother-in-law did due diligence and checked the prescription, and it said don't take when you're pregnant and don't take if you have seizures. So doctors are still human. They still make mistakes. We still need to do our due diligence and our research to make sure that the things that they're prescribing are our best options. They're also very influenced by pharmaceuticals and different things like that. So, I mean, is it a blanket statement? If you're sick, you have to go to the doctor? That doesn't.
Or that if you're going to refuse the treatment of your children, if nothing else is working, and they're going to die, and you have a medical doctor, maybe then. Because I don't like doctors either. I don't like the industry. I don't like the disease industry.
I like doctors for emergencies. Like, we had 2 appendectomies in the last couple of years. And, when there's stuff that you cannot do naturally and you go to the doctor and they give you something and you do your research and you say, yeah, that'll work for me. Great. But, and especially in emergency situations, I'm a huge fan of doctors. But there's a lot of times where they're not correct. I mean, my husband had an issue. I told the doctor what it was. He didn't want to run the tests to believe me. He tested everything else. My husband was in the hospital for multiple days because his doctor didn't do the one test I asked him to do. And when they finally did it, guess what it showed? That what I said he had. And that we did the treatment that the doctor suggested. It didn't help. I did my own research. I've got him on a different treatment and it's working.
Good.
So I have a hard time with the blanket statement of you have to go to the doctor.
Well, I think the idea is that you are to seek treatment for what ails you. Now, whether you go to a traditional doctor or a naturopath or whatever to receive that treatment, because most medications you have to have a prescription for.
Well, but the thing is, I didn't go to any doctor to actually find the right solution for my husband. I did the research to do it, and I'm treating him. So it's not that. I guess you could say those resources that I went to research. I mean, that's a source. It's not my own knowledge, but that's really go look for knowledge, not go look for an individual.
Right. I to some degree, I understand that, because unfortunately in our recent generations, healthcare has become such an industry that is focused on, how can I make money? How can I make money? How can I get more insurance money? How many extra tests can I run? So that the hospital gets paid more and thus my employer's more happy with me and I get a raise. That is a big part of the problem in our society these days.
Agreed. I'll give you a first-hand story of something that just happened in our house. My wife goes to the doctor regularly. She's got a list of situations, okay? But she was trying to find out why her moods and her state of mind was the way it was. She knew something was wrong. She looked at the results of one of the blood tests, her most recent blood test, and for whatever reason, she looked at the vitamin B12 range. She was in the acceptable level, but at the low end of it. Long story short, she requested B12 injections, started getting them once a month, and she takes a B complex supplement with it. She is another person. I'll just say that much more pleasant to live with lately.
Yeah, B12, B complex, they're amazing. If there's any point in time where you're having, you're sluggish, or maybe you're having a negative outlook on life, if you take a B complex, it totally changes who you are. So anytime my husband's grumpy or if I'm grumpy, we'll look at each other and be like, did you take your B vitamins today?
Now they're always offering them at my work. Must be something to it. I have something. Anybody else want to add something? I had,
Sure.
this is actually, go ahead.
I was going to say, sure. It's what you put in and addition things that are in the food that you're eating too. With all the chemicals and antibiotics that are in today's meats that everybody buys mainstream, a lot of that has to do with a lot of gut biome too. And even the probiotics that are out there today really aren't all that great. So it's a buyer beware kind of situation as well. But I know that I personally have cut out a lot of, not so much a lot of sugars, but I've cut out corn out of my diet. Fructose, all high fructose corn syrup, regular corn syrup, just corn itself. And it has really been an improvement. I've also been my sons and my families have different food allergies, so I've always, and right now I'm kind of in a conundrum to where I personally have to look, and even a lot of the vegetables aren't all that good for you, or fruit juices. Stay away from fruit juices because of the hidden sugars in it. Read the labels. You'd be surprised what's in the stuff that you're pushing on your kids or yourself. And I cook for a living, so it's like, well, for now I cook for a living.
Yeah.
But it's, if you can make your own or grow your own, at least you know what you're doing as far as what you're putting in your body. And that has a big effect too.
Absolutely. And like you were saying, you might be eating vegetables, but the vegetables that we're getting at the big supermarkets, they are so devoid of nutrients because of the factory farming that we've done, that the nutrients we get from a carrot now is not anywhere close to comparable to the nutrients that you would have gotten 200 years ago. And
I'd say even 50 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. 50 years ago is probably, yeah. Absolutely. And it goes all the way. So like our meats, our beef, they're not all grass fed. Those animals are not getting the nutrients. And so when we eat a burger now compared to 50 years ago, it's not the same because the grass or the grains that they're eating, the diet is completely different, and it changes the biome of the animal. And it changes how we absorb nutrients too, because we're not balanced. And so you talk about disease where, you know, maybe we talk about how sin can create disease or can create a problem. And that's what I'm wondering about. Our food system is so corrupted at this point. How would you know if it's your sin or if it's something that you're eating?
Well, if it's a sin of the nation and everything else, that comes down to you as well. And but one of the major factors that we're seeing nowadays is everybody loves fried food, and vegetable oil is just horrid for everybody. Just horrid, and day in and day out. And even if you know, and for me, it's very stressful because I know what I'm cooking, I know what I'm making. Do I know it's not good? It's good, but is it good for you? Not necessarily. And it's not good. So it's, you know, but you got to do what you got to do. Coconut oil is good, yes, as long as it's not over treated. A lot of it is. They're still holding out. They're still saying that extra virgin olive oil is still good for you, but you just got to make sure that it is actually extra virgin olive oil and not something that is imitation or something like that. And margarine was actually made to fatten turkeys. Health It's meant to fatten
Oh,
up turkeys
makes
and
perfect sense.
things like that. Yeah, and a lot of recycled foods are going to feed other animals, and it's like, no. So it's like, I know we recycle oils for plastics and other things, but a lot of times too, it goes into dog and cat food. It also goes into, actually, if you like pork, it goes into feeding pigs as well. And it's like, no, it's not good.
Oof.
And the preservatives that keep things going, they're just recycled and rehashed as well. And it's not only is it that bad as far as actually just in our food, it's also in our water systems too.
Absolutely.
There
Yeah,
was
water.
actually. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was done. I just said water is key to health. That's it. Go ahead.
There was actually a study done on the Amish. I could probably find it again if you wanted to like, but the thing we know about the Amish is that they eat organic. Everything they eat is organic because they grow it themselves. And they did studies on them and found that cancer in their community, the cancer rates were practically none. There was a very rare case here and there of genetic cancer, but otherwise they had no cancer whatsoever. So we're seeing a time where people are starting to use, a lot more chemicals and stuff in farming, and we are thus consuming those, and also preservatives in our side of our, our canned processed, frozen foods, and we're suddenly seeing escalated rates of cancer, and obviously if there are communities in which aren't consuming these products that have absolutely no rates of cancer, but our society that grossly like consumes this stuff on a regular basis is having these problems, obviously there's some kind of link between here and there. And so that's a big problem that one of the number one killers in the United States is cancer.
As a side note on cancer, there was a show years ago, Three's Company. There was a woman that played the part of Chrissy. I can't remember her real life name.
Suzanne Summers?
Yeah.
Yes. She wrote a book, and it was, they tried to shoot it down, but her point was all of the various chemicals that we put on our bodies every day, aluminum chloride, which is in your deodorant, you've got ice or eye makeup, face makeup, whatever, colognes, sprays, hairsprays, all of these various chemicals, even though they might be just trace amounts, those little trace amounts repeated over and over and over, day after day, year after year. And her book pointed to the fact that some of these cancers that people are experiencing today can be linked to some of the chemicals that we use.
Fluoride's a big one.
Yeah. Which
Fluoride
one?
is a big one. Fluoride.
That's in your water. That's in your water.
Exactly.
Well, didn't the Nazis give in the concentration camps give fluoride to help contain or to keep them complacent?
Yeah, I've heard that. I haven't seen anything. I've heard that, yeah, from a few sources. I don't know how credible it is, but I have heard it.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I get from this, all of this, what we're talking about, the common theme? Big city, big something, you know what I mean? Just big anything, big farm, big agriculture, big anything. It's almost like the complete opposite of what the message of the Bible is, right? I mean, what is the message of the Bible is that these people were, they lived far away from the other people. They were gearing, they were strangers, they're coming around once in a while. hanging around the outside. They kept to themselves. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like once you start to like congregate, you know, like these large swaths of like people confined, and you start just, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if anyone noticed that. I don't know if anyone
No.
got that.
Babel, Egypt, they all fell. They all became contaminated.
You'll have that when you have big amounts of people in a
Um,
small area.
I'm not like being I'm like a anti-city or something. I don't want people
No.
thinking that. I'm just saying it's just a note. Welcome to the room, Lee. It's good to see you. It's we'll see you like once every 6 months, but it's good. You come around less often than Path of Abraham.
it's good to see you. Shalom, Lee.
I think he broke his record. Actually, he missed what it was, 20 hangouts. You missed what, 25?
It was 19.
19.
Picky.
Oh man. Yeah. Just
So how you doing there, though?
pretty good. I just changed jobs. That's all that happened. But I'm very pleased to be back.
Good. Well, it's always good to have you, man. Anytime you come in.
Shalom. Hello.
I want to read something. I think I lost my bookmark here. Okay, here it is. All right. This is from, actually, I got this from the World of the Gear, but it's from Ben Ishchai, Genesis 3, Rabbi Yosef Chaim of Baghdad, 1832 to 1909. He said, the sin of Adam and Hava, Eve, came through eating. The primary rectification of mankind will come through eating. This is similar to the principle of koshering pots and pans or plates and cups, which have been rendered non-kosher by contact with forbidden food. The principle is, as it was absorbed, so it will be expelled. The soul of man absorbs zahuma, spiritual filth, by eating the forbidden fruit. Thus, the zahuma will be expelled by means of eating in a permissible, sanctified, and spiritual manner. Therefore, the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination of man, and the Satan, and the Nachash, the primordial serpent, which all are one, provoke and battle a person with matters of food consumption. And so a person must purify and sanctify in the way he eats, for example, with berachot, with blessings, recited with full attention, and by taking care that food is unspoiled by forbidden substances such as worms or insects or blood, or the presence of even a small amount of forbidden types of animals, birds and fish, or nevela, or treifa, or forbidden mixtures such as meat and milk. The food one eats cannot have been stolen or acquired dishonestly. Moreover, one should be careful to conduct himself with refinement at the table by saying words of Torah to avoid slander or gluttony or drunkenness, or expressing anger or harsh strictness. With proper eating is the foundation of purification and holiness by which a person serves his Creator. And again, that's Ben Ishchai, Genesis 3, Rabbi Yosef Chaim of Baghdad. I thought that was, I saved that for tonight.
That was nice. You know, the Bible does talk a lot about eating. It's funny how we can't really figure that out about how to properly eat to be healthy. It's kind of funny how
it's everywhere.
It is everywhere. Eat everywhere. Yeah, eating is everywhere.
Famine. While everybody's been talking, I was thinking in Exodus, you had them complaining that they didn't have meat. You know, back in Egypt, we had meat. Back when we were slaves, we had meat. Well, Brookie Lee was talking about how after your body is done doing what it can with food, it can begin to work on healing. Correct? Is that what you said? Am I off base here? Because I'm going to go.
Yeah, that's what I said. When you're done digesting, then your body can heal.
Okay. What did manna not do? Digest. Manna fell from the heavens and it melted in your mouth. sweet like honey. You know, that's what manna was. You didn't have to digest anything. So when you said that, something clicked in my head about the time when manna was falling and everybody was complaining there's no meat, that would be a time when they were doing nothing but healing. They're given all the nutrients they'd need, all the sustenance they'd ever need, you know, a diet perfectly attuned for them, falling from heaven. And you know, that I thought that was interesting that we found that out. Which also comes to, you want meat? Well, I'll give you enough meat; it'll be coming out your nose.
Another thing too that I just thought of when you started that, James, was that, man, the Israelis also moved around a lot, which meant that they had seasonal foods that they would eat. Whereas in where we live now, in the time we live now, we have all seasons foods at our disposal. So a lot of that could be an issue too, because certain types of year you probably shouldn't be eating a certain type of food. I thought about that too. That's all.
Yeah, actually, the Rambam writes that certain foods should be eaten certain times of year. You know, when it's warmer in the summer, that you should eat things that are lighter and not so heavy, and then in the winter you should eat like warmer soups and stews. But when James mentioned Exodus, I actually and how the Torah stresses how much we should eat, I actually thought of this verse here in my notes. It's from Exodus 15:26, and it says, "And he said, if you will diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his sight, and give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon you which I put upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord your healer." What Rashi's commentary on the verse says, "I am the Lord your healer, and I will teach you Torah and commandments in order that you may be saved from these diseases, like a physician who says to man, do not eat this thing, lest it will bring you into danger from this illness."
I'd never heard that before, so thanks.
Yeah, I like that. It's like if you keep to the statute, if you keep the Torah, you safeguard yourself from the, you know.
Well, look at how, if a Jew were to keep a full diet, they would be restricted from eating certain times. They would be restricted from eating certain foods at certain times of the year. You know what I mean? And they would stress eating, like getting ready for winter or in the middle of Hanukkah. I made my first batch of latkes this year, and that is by no means a hash brown. That is a meal. You don't need anything else, y'all. I'm just take it from me. For you hash brown eaters on Hanukkah, when you go to your Jewish friend's house, you're going to be eating a meal with those. So that's all. But, you know, very oily foods, donuts, and, you know.
With applesauce or sour cream.
I skipped the applesauce. Tried it, wasn't a fan. So I doubled up on the sour cream.
I like the sweet potato ones with homemade applesauce, but I make like applesauce that tastes like apple pie.
Oh. Ooh. Ooh. Now let's see. I got to take a drive up to Tennessee now. I'm going to have to give me a jar of that. We'll take it home.
I'll give you the recipe after.
Sweet potatoes with crushed pineapple in them.
Oh, that does
I like
sound
my sweet
good.
potatoes with crushed pineapple in it. Yeah, it also helps in digestion as well.
You could probably put some raisins in there too.
Okay, guys, I want to get serious on everybody here. All right, you want to get serious on this.
Dun, dun, dun.
What are we as observant Torah observant non-Jewish folk in the world, particularly in our neck of the woods, the North American continent, and anywhere? What are we going to do? How do we? Is it just a matter of not eating the meat from animals that were poorly cared for and improperly slaughtered, if you want to call it a slaughter? Is it enough for us just to turn our backs and not eat the food? I understand voting with your dollar. I'm all for that. I really am. But you know, is that enough for us? I'm concerned. You know, we had about 50 some odd slaughterhouses back in 1959, I think, or 58, throughout the country, and that was at the population we had then, and you know how scarce a chunk of America was at the time. And now we have 4. You know, something's wrong with that. Something's not right about that. Or 4 big ones. You know, yeah. CAFOs and whatnot. Is it enough for us to just not eat the meat and vote with our dollar? Or should we take a more proactive approach to stopping this? And if so, what would Torah prescribe?
What Torah was prescribed would be raise your own animals. You know, have your own chickens and eat the eggs that it comes with. They make, and you know, I know it sounds kind of ridiculous, but I've seen people. Here on Long Island, I'm not joking. People here on Long Island, I've seen it. I've been in the neighborhood. People have chickens in their backyard. They have like about I don't know, a quarter of an acre of land. You know, relatively small. You know, we're okay in the suburbs. It's nice. You're probably not going to get that much land in like Queens or Brooklyn, obviously. But I've seen it here in Nassau. People have in their backyards, a house. They have chickens running around, and they eat the eggs, and they have like 10 chickens, and you know they'll take one, eat it, they slaughter it themselves, and they replace it. And so there's always like a same amount of numbers always. So it's like I don't think it's that difficult, to be honest with you.
Well,
No.
I mean, it is very involved, but I was actually part of advocating to get chickens in Kansas City when we lived there, and the city council passed it the day that I was there advocating for it. And we had chickens in our backyard in the city, but we've also raised meat chickens, and I had a milk cow, and we milked our own, or you know, we milked our cow and drank the milk that we got from it. We also did it with goats and sheep. Our first lamb that my children had was one that we raised and slaughtered ourselves. I mean, it's involved, and it takes a lot of effort, and it's totally worth it, but not everybody is going to be able to do that or want to do that.
I used to live in a place called Flintstone, Maryland. There was a place called Flintstone, Maryland. And I used to live out there when I was like a baby, 4 years old, 5 years old. And my father and I used to go hunting, and you know, geese and deer, and we would undress the animals ourselves, and it was very intense, a lot of work. But like you said, Brooke, I think you hit the nail on the head. It was worth it. It was really worth it.
Here's a question. Following the laws of supply and demand. First out of the gate, why is kosher meat so expensive? Is it because there's not enough supply? Or is it just because the process is so involved?
It's those damn rabbis. They want their shekels.
No, seriously.
No. I think it's because it's rare. It takes a lot more to maintain a network of trade through such a small demographic, if you will. It's speaking, you know.
So you're not saying that there's a supply issue, right?
No, cows breed well, I hear. You know.
Okay, so now following that line, if all of the serious Noahides, Gerim, whatever, decided that they were only going to buy all of their meat from a kosher source, every one of us, and we start frequenting these kosher suppliers, would that increased demand cause the price to go up, or would they increase the supply and drive the price down?
Well, you can look at organic to find the answer to that.
It would first go up in price because of the influx of people doing it, and people are going to be able to get away with doing that. But then if other businesses start slaughtering kosher and start selling kosher meat, the prices will eventually go down. I mean, that's capitalism 101.
Well, and it
Sure.
also gets perverted when it gets that popular too. Because like organic, yes, the price went up just like he was saying, and that price is coming down, but organic no longer means organic. Because if you actually went onto some of the farms that are labeled organic, you would not be happy, and it's not what consumers think of as organic.
No, well, that's a labeling issue too.
I have a
But-
question.
Perverting the term organic, just like they would pervert the term kosher. You would hope that they wouldn't be able to, or that they wouldn't do it because it is a godly thing.
Let me tell you something, Brooklyn. That word kosher does not mean nothing, because I go to places, I buy food for places, and my rabbi looks at me and goes, "You went there?" I go, "Yeah, I got tuna fish from a place." Okay, I'm going to say the store. The store is called Kosher Blank. I'm like, what do you mean? Oh, but it's the wrong hexture. So it don't matter what you do, really, Brooklyn. They're going to complain about, oh, well, is it this? Is it CHK? Is it VHK? Is it OU? Is it Triangle K? Is it this K? This
Right.
I mean, you're always going to run into that.
But when they start perverting it, you're no longer eating the way that you should be. And again, it comes back to due diligence. If you can't really know about your food and where it came from, how it was killed, you don't know the rabbi that was there to kosher kill it. Like, if you are not involved on an intimate level, you actually will never know. And so you could be sinning with what you're eating every single day, but oh nope, it was marked kosher, so I should be okay. The issue in the food is still there. And you haven't done your due diligence, and we can't in a society that is this big. And so, yes, it goes back to what you said earlier. We should all be growing and intimately involved with our food.
Absolutely. Amen on that. So what is your question, Dan? Dan had a question. Oh,
May I jump in and offer another alternative for people who can't grow their own food? You know, we have a lot of local farmers here in the United States. And I know many other countries have plenty of local farmers. You know, these farmers, they rely on their livestock and, you know, their produce for a living. And so, you know, go to them, you know, build a relationship with them and know where it comes from. And, you know,
Farmers
you don't have to,
market.
yes, you don't have to kill it yourself, but have a relationship with your local organic farmers and, you know, support them and support their families.
We had a question, did we?
you here, Dan? Are you going to talk to us?
I'm back, but
So what was your question?
It's not really a serious question. It's more like, isn't kosher like halal for Jews?
That is correct.
It's similar. It's like you can't eat halal and be kosher, but but a Muslim can eat kosher and still be halal. There's a few more restricted. I don't even know the restrictions. Where's Frank? I know the halal's better. It's better to go halal than not. I've thought about it.
I disagree.
Why is that?
No, I disagree because I've read so much stuff against halal food that it's not properly done, and just no.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people who eat halal prefer kosher, and they will buy kosher over halal.
I like Ross's idea.
When McDonald's can be halal.
Yeah, they don't have a meat and dairy thing, do they?
No, there are certain McDonald's that have no dairy products. Parv. I don't know what the term is that they use, but whatever their equivalent to parv is.
Right.
There
Good.
is kosher McDonald's in Israel. I've heard about
Better
it.
be. There better be.
I've been there. I ate at it. It's
We have a kosher Dunkin' Donuts right by my house here, where I live.
I like the idea of getting all the Noahides to go kosher. If we could do a campaign, you know, if we could, I like that. I like that. That's a lot. That's a lot of revenue. That could be a boatload of revenue, and it would be a great way to unite the Noahide with Israel. To your stomach. That's how you win. That's how you win a man's heart.
But you know, like when you say go kosher, you know, we're talking at least keeping everything high. Doesn't mean you don't eat a cheeseburger, but you're eating things that are, you know, slaughtered appropriately in such a way that it treats the animals are treated correctly. And then when they're slaughtered, it is completely dead before you take the animal off, the limb of the animal off.
And the animal's treated better while it's alive. CAFO, all caps, Google it, and do it when you're not hungry. Or if you are hungry and on a diet, CAFO, CAFO. That's my big problem. That's the one thing. It's like, how can I bring down the establishment on this one? Because that's a disgusting, sick practice. We do it. They became product. Animal became product.
You know, and another problem I have with just being just vegetarian is that, you know, the Torah says that we're supposed to send the mother hen away from her nest before we take her eggs, but they don't do that in your like the slaughter like
Oh
in
no.
the
Yeah.
I mean they actually have a machine where the hen drops it and it just goes right on the conveyor belt. You know.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it's that much. I don't think it's difficult to eat healthy and good. I mean, I saw a good rabbi that comes to the hangout here, Rabbi
Yes.
Konstoff. He's traveling around
He's in Kenya.
He's in Kenya, middle of nowhere, bumfuck, uncivilized. I mean, he's talking about how wonderful he's eating on his vegan diet, you know?
Yeah. has eaten nothing but fruit for 5 days and doesn't miss meat.
Yeah, speaking of vegan, I tried to get Kosher Vegan Dad to join us this week, but he was unable to, so you know. But you should check out
Kosher vegan who?
Kosher Vegan Dad. He runs a YouTube channel. You guys should check him out. And he talks about, you know, a lot of the issues surrounding the Rambam and the Rambam.
Kosher vegan dad.
Mhm.
Dad as in Tati or dad? Dad? Oh, yeah, okay, I found it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, nice. He's got a nice beard. A bodnik.
Yes, he's Hobodnik. He's completely vegan and he promotes, you know, us switching to a more plant-based diet. And the Rambam's case for that.
I gotta eat healthy. I eat way too much cheese. I eat way too much dairy products.
Oof.
Dairy just like blows you up.
But not necessarily, because the ketogenic diet lets you eat as much dairy as you would like, and people are losing weight.
I was going to say, I don't have a problem with cheese at all.
I mean, I eat so much yogurt. I eat all this like Chernobyl yogurt. This
Yeah,
you know,
full of
80 calorie.
It's full of sugar. The sugar is what's doing it to you, not the yogurt. The yogurt's extremely healthy, and there's nothing in it that's going to make you gain weight. Well, I mean, you could go overboard, sure, but
actually the yogurt isn't that good since it's processed, so you're losing a lot of your probiotics in it. They said you would have to eat like 9 of them a day to actually have a little, very little effect on your gut biome.
So give me a good yogurt brand.
I would make it yourself. That's the best way. That's the healthiest way.
And they're saying the Greek yogurts are okay, but the other ones, no.
How do you make your own? I mean, what's the product? I mean, I guess I'll do a YouTube video on it, but
yeah,
looking
you
into
get yogurt makers and stuff like that. I mean, if you could get raw milk and then you could get a good yogurt culture, you could have as much as you wanted. It'd be extremely healthy for you. It would increase your gut biome. And by doing that, it increases your digestion. It would just, I mean, it helps on all kinds of levels, all the way to the health of your teeth.
I personally don't eat a lot of dairy because, you know, Halal Israel dairy is really hard to come by, but for those who do, I mean, dairy it's really good in some ways. It has calcium and whatnot. I'm a little more advocate for the dairy free because I've had issues with dairy, but that's a personal thing. In the medical literature could argue either way.
Now, have you done raw dairy or just processed dairy?
Actually, I've done raw dairy, but like my thing is more, it's something about dairy, the way it messes with your hormones. Some people it works fine for, and some people it doesn't.
As far as dairy goes, I will still eat cheese, but I really limit what I eat. It's not like I have it every day. But milk, on the other hand, I've switched over to almond milk. Love it. 60 calories per. Huh?
I drink a lot of almond milk and coconut milk too. Like I use coconut milk in baking.
Straight almond milk. None of that soaked stuff. Real almond milk.
Yes.
I like almond milk. Would you all like to hear the healthiest foods? The 32 healthiest foods. This is again, this is out of World of the Gear, but there's a lot of stuff in here. I think this is still from a lot of what he's talking about here. He says it's based on the Rambam. Consensus of Contemporary Nutrition lists the following as the 32 healthiest foods: almonds, apples, avocados, bananas, beets, black beans, blueberries, whole wheat bread, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, bulgur, don't know what that is, chia seeds, dark chocolate, eggplant, flax seeds, kale, kidney beans, lentils, lean red meat, fat-free milk, steel-cut oatmeal, extra virgin olive oil, pumpkin, quinoa, wild salmon, spinach, sweet potatoes, tomatoes, tuna, walnuts, red wine, fat-free yogurt. Many nutritionists put green tea, particularly if it has a little lemon juice added, at the very top of the list. If a person makes these majority of the foods he eats, follows the guidelines of the Rambam, does not overeat and exercises regularly, a 30-minute brisk walk 4 or more times a week is sufficient, he will remain healthy for the rest of his life. Back at you, snap there, Hadassah.
Yeah. I'll give you a different source other than the Rambam because I know we've talked about him a lot.
Go for it. Because he's cool, dude. He's got a bestseller.
Yeah, he is. I really do like the Rambam. I like the Rambam's diet. And there's actually a book that's been translated of all of his herbal remedies. If anyone's interested in that, that is actually available to read. But we're not going to talk about that tonight. This is what Rabbi Samson Raphael Ersh writes in, if I can pronounce this correctly, Horeb, in his explanation of the mitzvah of guarding health. Limiting our presumption against our own body, God's word calls us, do not commit suicide, do not injure yourself, do not ruin yourself, do not weaken yourself, preserve yourself. And that's on page 298. Furthermore, on page 300, it says you may not in any way weaken your health or shorten your life. Only if the body is healthy, it is an effective instrument for the spirit's activity. Therefore, you should avoid everything in which you might possibly injure your health. And the law asks you to be even more circumspect in avoiding danger of life and limb than in the avoidance of other transgressions.
Amen.
So I know we've been talking a lot about food and what the Rambam has said about food, but also a big part of health I think we should talk about just briefly is emotional health. We have a lot of mental problems, depression, anxiety, how, and that's a big part of big part of your health and be able to serve God appropriately. So what are your guys' thoughts on like mental health, emotional issues, that part of it?
Okay, I'll lead it off because, man, I've had quite a number of issues. But just recently, within the past few months, I personally took it upon myself and convinced myself, just told myself, let it go. Almost the majority of arguments that people get into, disagreements, fights, spats, whatever you want to call it, the majority of them are over petty crap. Just stuff that really shouldn't involve an argument. People have lost the ability to have a discussion. I told my wife when we first got married back in 1979, I said, I will never have an argument with you. I will never call you out of your name. And I will never raise my voice. To this day, we've never had an argument, and I've never called her any other. Well, the only other name I've called her is honey or sweetheart or something like that, but I just don't do it. I said we will sit down, we will have a discussion, and we can disagree if we want, but we can disagree as adults. Children will fight. Go to any elementary playground and you can find them all day long. Adults should know better. They should learn how to talk and have discussions. Even if there's a disagreement, it's not worth getting your gut or your mind or anything else twisted out of shape. Treat that person like a human being and they'll treat you the same way back most of the time. Am I still on or what happened? Hello?
You are loud and clear and beautiful as ever, my man.
Okay. But
Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Hello, Frank.
Shalom, everyone.
But just resolve within yourself not to have these arguments, but to have discussions. And if you can't have a discussion, walk away. I have really recently, within the past several months, it's been a tough little go. But I've just decided if I can't say something pleasant or peaceful to someone where the situation is warrants, anybody can come up with a snide remark or some kind of a little dig. You can do that. That's not an argument, and that's not calling somebody. It's just a snide little remark. Here lately, I'm just like, silence. Don't say anything. It is a tough little something to do, but the peace dividends pay off. It really pays off if you can just learn to maintain that silence. Somebody else take the floor.
There's a confidence issue I find with Torah. And that's a complex I have from, my other life and my own eccentricities and whimsies and whatnot. But there's a confidence thing. It's not a matter of bravery or confidence. I should say fearlessness, where you lack fear. And a good lesson of this when it comes to Torah is they had a chance to take the Holy Land, probably no blood being shed, bada boom, and they had to send spies in first. They had to see with their eyes, and it cost them 40 years wandering around in the desert or wilderness, excuse me. So there is something that I get with Torah that allows for some confidence, maybe in myself. Just an awareness that the universe will unfold like it should, Um, that it's an awareness that I'm not, it's not with me all the time, and I struggle with it. Still, it's a struggle. When it happens, there is a struggle in there. Like anger is a form of idolatry. You've disconnected. Obviously, this is the way things are supposed to go. Freaking deal with it. Man up. Instead of being a whiny little bitch. That's kind of like the Torah message I'm getting here in my head is, but when it comes to mental health, I think that that's one thing that when you begin to apply 7 laws and when you begin to read the Torah and start taking all of this in, it does allow for a confidence in oneself. A humble, don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm boastful, I can, but there is a confidence, I think, that might be lacking in the world. A confidence in the self, a confidence in one's neighbor.
I mean, I'm not a Jew or a Christian, but I mean, I do appreciate the words in the book of Ecclesiastes, and I'm actually okay. So yeah, if you guys want me to, I can read this verse that I'm looking at right now. So Ecclesiastes 9-7, go eat your food with gladness and drink your wine with a joyful heart. I lost it, my man. For God has already approved of what you do. Always be clothed in white, and always anoint your head with oil. Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God is giving you under the sun. All your meaningless days, for this is your lot in life, and in your toilsome labor under the sun.
Now, see, that's good advice, I think. That's
where the saying came from. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die.
Yes. I think that, I was talking in a Christian group, and people started getting all heavy on Rambam and worthy of death and all that. And it's like, I'm beginning to realize that it's very popular and common in the public consciousness that the Jewish God, if you will, the Old Testament God, some people say, is without mercy, or that he doesn't teach mercy to his people. And when people come to the law, even in discussion or in just, working it out in their minds, there's no mercy in their hearts about it. It's almost like there's this preconceived notion that God is not merciful. Maybe that's something else that the world needs a little bit of.
If I may.
Would you say? Go ahead, if you please.
Another little something that I've tried to understand for myself is, if the 7 is what I need to live by, I judge me by the 7. Everyone else I can show mercy. I can't expect everyone out there to live up to the standards that I'm trying to live by. I may see their failures and be disappointed, but if I can't show them mercy, if I only show them judgment and harshness, I'll make an enemy in a heartbeat. But if I show them mercy, then perhaps, we can talk and there'll be some progress made. But if I can't live it, why should I even try to teach it?
It's that do unto others thing as you do unto yourself.
Sure. I'll tell you where I get that from. And I think I've said this before. There's a verse. Let not a man boast about how much money he has, or how much strength he has, or how much knowledge and wisdom he has. But if a man is ever going to boast, let him boast that he knows me, Hashem, the one who shows loving kindness, justice, and mercy in the earth. If I'm going to say that I know Hashem, then I have to show loving kindness, and do justice in my own life, judge myself fairly, be honest with myself, and just show mercy to others in loving kindness.
Where did you get that from, Ross?
I can go look it up if you give me a short little bit, but it's yeah. Y'all keep talking. I'll look it up for you.
Are you guys there?
No,
Yeah,
we left.
Well, I'm having computer problems. So.
You're fine.
Right. Oh,
while he's
it's cutting you off, Rosalie.
You are kind of cutting a bit in and out. We'll get her back. Should be stronger than ever. You know, Justin B., I just want to say one thing, sir. You haven't stopped talking all night. Nobody's been able to say nothing, dude. And I'm about tired of that. No,
He's just pressing one.
As she is.
Yeah. But yeah, like, you know, sometimes when I get depressed, man, I will read like, or parts of the book of Ecclesiastes, and, you know, it helps. You know, it reminds me of the important things in life.
Good. I have to take a second look at that.
Yeah, because I mean, I struggle with anxieties and a little bit of depression, so I could use that.
Rabbi Nachman's also a good person to read for that.
I am here, by the way.
There he is.
I was just going to say, and don't forget the vitamin B. That'll help too.
Well, there is this. I think the Western world is particularly starved spiritually. I think it takes a bit of confidence to be kind. It really does. It takes strength. I would like to strengthen. I mean, that's a really good topic, Hadassah. Mental health in the Torah. I could go off on this all night.
Yes. Which surprisingly, you know, I found that depression and anxiety are like really big Jewish issues, especially in communities that are a lot more isolated from the world. Because, you know, you're dealing with social isolation and you feel like you're a foreigner even inside your own country. I think even some of you guys in here have felt that way at times. You can't relate to the people around you. But you know, when we're talking about being kind, you know, and does that mean we don't say anything at all? And that's my question. I have my answer, but I want to hear what you guys say. Do we not say anything at all about the Noahide laws? You know, do you not branch out? You know,
I have to. I was never more gay in my life, I think, than this past holiday. I was a foreigner in my house. I was a foreigner in my family. Bless them. It was Christmas and New Year's and all that. I felt detached. You know, you know, I was very gay. I was a stranger in a strange land. This is my home. These are my people, and I felt a stranger. It was wild. I mean, really, I was like, oh, I got to block this. This is good. I get this thing now. You know, this is making a lot more sense today. But yeah, I felt like that all this past holiday season. I really got what it meant to be gay. I am a stranger to you, and I'm thankful that you're kind and that you're warm and that you're hospitable, and I'll do whatever I can to accommodate you. But I'm different. You know, there is a definite distance that I felt this year.
I mean that's one big theme in Judaism, isn't it? Right.
I have your answer.
More than you might know, sir.
So
definitely it is actually.
Okay, so I was named after, you know, the prophet Daniel. I mean, and you know, he was one of the Jews like during the exile in Babylon, during a strange land.
Yep.
So.
Abraham was a stranger in a strange land. Moses was a stranger in a strange land. Yeah, there's a whole chunk of halakha about the guy who doesn't go away, the non-Jew who keeps hanging with. There's the or who works or whatever. There's actually a whole different chunk that deals with how you treat him, juxtaposed to people from way across the river that you don't see, but maybe here and there. There's a whole it's far more biblical, and a lot of people don't like that. There's a big controversy, or a tiny little controversy in the long run, but over that very notion. Someone was going to say something, and I kind of interrupted because I had to get on that. Who was that?
We should never truly feel at home in the world. We should never truly feel at home. We should always feel like we don't belong. Because the truth is we don't belong. Our true home is in heaven. This is only a temporary dwelling.
True. That was me that was trying to say something. I typed it for the room. Jeremiah 9:23 and 24.
Me bust it out.
If you want to read it, or you want me to read it? What's up?
If you got it open, go ahead. I don't have it open. It might take a second for me to get it.
Okay, I'll have to bring it back up.
John, what you
Yes.
just said, that's something Jesus would have said, John.
It's true. Jesus was a good Jew. I mean, that's the truth, is that people take him and they make his words they make him into a madman, and they make him like he doesn't know what he's doing or something, but he really was a brilliant person and a good person. Go ahead, Ross.
Jeremiah. It's
I've got it.
I didn't see it. What is it? One more time. Jeremiah 9?
Yeah, I've got it here. I can read it for you.
Yeah, Brookie Lee was asking the passage.
9:23 and 24. I'll read it. I have it if you want.
Please, if you please.
You're never going to let me live that down.
Oh, it's our thing, man. I mean it with the greatest affection, I promise.
Thus says the Lord, let not a wise man boast of his wisdom, and let not the mighty man boast of his might. Let not a rich man boast of his riches, but let him who boast of this, that he understands and knows me, that I am the Lord who exercises loving kindness, justice, and righteousness on earth. For I delight in these things, declares the Lord. My takeaway from that is, if you're going to boast that you know me. And if you're going to say that you know me, the Lord, then you know the one who exercises loving kindness, which means I should do the same, justice, which means I should do the same, and righteousness on the earth, which means I should do the same. I know the Lord. This is what he does. Therefore, this is how I act. That's my take on it.
King is not saved by an army. A warrior is not saved by his sword. A horse is a false guarantee for victory. Your salvation only comes from the Lord.
Amen.
I'll add on to what Ross is saying. I think you guys will all recognize this verse from Micah. What does the Lord require of you? But to seek justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God.
Amen. Amen. And in another place he says, I did not command your forefathers in sacrifices and offerings. Rather, I commanded them that they should hear my voice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, the eyes are deceiving. We're learning this, and it's a theme we're finding, isn't it? It's always hear my voice, hear my commandments. Hear, O Israel.
I remember that.
You, I had that.
You talked about that last time I was here.
I've been thinking, I've been chewing on it.
Sure, right? Your eyes deceive you. I mean, what happened to Eve? She looks at the fruit and she says, "Oh, it looks good.
Looks good. That's right.
It looks good."
Wasn't that the afterglow that we had, what, last week or 2 weeks ago?
Might have been. Yeah. See, I think one thing that Torah and Judaism could provide the world when it comes to mental health, particularly in the West, is there's a lot of shame in the West. The religion's based on it. In fact, our modern laws, in my opinion, in my country, I love my country. It's the best we can be, but we could do a hell of a lot better. There's a lot of shame. They rule by shame. And guilt and you know what I'm saying? It's always about, there's always something's going to get you. I think the Torah provides, a clarity from all that junk. And it's kind of, I want to say inbred in our society. Of course, we're freer than most. I know Europe probably got more of it than we do, but there's a shame factor in a lot of religion. You're born in sin, and that narrative. I think one thing that Judaism could free the minds of Americans on in the West is that shame, that walk erect. I am the God of Israel that brought you out of Israel so you could walk erect, or something to that effect. Stand up. You don't have to be a boastful schmuck, but stand up. Well, when you talk about mental health and Torah, there's so much it could provide the world. I mean, even on a psychological level, I think the way the Torah is organized, the way it organizes human thought, consciousness, a very healthy approach. The whole Kabbalah thing, even the with the tree of life and all that. It's all about balance and interaction with all aspects of human consciousness.
Not only James, you're so right on it with the psychological problems that it gives you, but think about how it's like when you really think about it, it's so anti-God. I mean, listen to what they're. I mean, these people listen to what they're saying. I mean, they're basically saying that God made them disgusting, that God made them like these filthy vessels, these broken vessels that are worthless. And like, why would you want to believe in a God who creates garbage? You know what I'm getting at, James? You know what I'm saying?
No,
I think I said this in my last video. I talk about this. I mean, God is. If you think God is good, then God made you good. What's the problem? Why can't you connect that logic? Go ahead, James. What are you gonna say?
No, you're on it.
It's like you like really the Christian God is a very warped God. Go ahead, Ross.
Well, I was just going to say that if you hear people saying things like that, and this was something that we talked about, I use the analogy that if you're a parent and your kid comes home and doesn't do his homework, lost his homework, whatever, you're lazy, you're stupid, you're dumb, you'll never amount to a hill of beans. You just keep doing the kid that way, and it's exactly what he's going to grow up believing. Time to get out of the house, and his self-esteem is lazy, unproductive, stupid, whatever. But again, too, just to meet up with anybody on the street and to demean them or to tear down their character or their self-esteem in any way. I'm trying to understand when I have interactions with people, and it goes back to what I was saying about not saying anything at all, is that I realize that every person on this planet is created in the image of God. Man was created in the image of God. And if I go out and start calling people stupid, idiot, asshole, whatever, I'm calling the image of God these names. So rather, it would be better if I just bit my tongue and don't say anything. If I can't be pleasant or kind, then it's better that I should say nothing at all. I think, again, in Proverbs, it says that the tongue is what gets you into hell.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, that kind of relates to what we talked about last week. We spent last week talking about Lashon Hara, and now this week you're talking about how Lashon Hara can affect our mental health, and the health of those around us.
Sure. I mean, if I have this negative outlook that everybody else is less than me, a dumbass, an asshole, whatever. If that's going to be my outlook, and not only just to demean these other individuals who are also in the image of God, that is, in another way, if you look back at it, elevating yourself. You're better than they are, which is the worst form of idolatry that you can practice.
Hmm. Hmm.
I've got an ego. I'm better than you. I'm smarter than you. I'm handsomer, prettier, whatever. I. And that's exactly the first letter in idolatry.
Idolatry, worship of the ego.
I've never heard that one before, man, but I don't think I'm going to forget that anytime soon.
Worship of the ego. That's all it is.
No, I'm serious. I've never heard someone put it that way. But I mean, I like that.
Groovy. Frank, how you been, my friend? Are you close to your mic?
You couldn't hear me the last time?
No, sir. I hadn't heard you. I hadn't heard you. John did. I hadn't heard you. Hi.
Oh,
Shalom.
good. Shalom. I'm just listening.
For what you've heard, and coming in here and stuff, and is there anything that you can find in Torah that provides good mental health that you could apply or that might apply to being a healthy human, particularly mental health?
At this moment, I can't really think of something, but I remember when I was in the Marine Corps, and there were like really tough times. And one thing that gave me solace was reading Psalms. I kind of related, the whole conflict thing, what David was going through with myself, and there was, it kind of spoke to me. And what it did, it just, in a sense, it gave me some understanding and some confidence in order to get through the day. So definitely, it helped my mental state during those difficult times.
It's interesting you say that. King David and kind of his son as well, King Solomon, they were what we would used to call bipolar, but I guess you would call it manic depressive nowadays. But one moment they'd be on top of the world, and then the next moment they were down in the dog heap, or whatever the term is, dung heap or whatever. And it's interesting that you say that, Frank.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal because during that nights, and I could remember in full detail, I was just stuck on Psalms. I was just stuck there, and I think it just gave me some insight of what I was going through.
I love Tehillim. I love Psalms.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love, yeah, you know what I love? I love Ecclesiastes, Gehilot. I love Song of Songs. Those are really good inspirational poetry, whatever it's considered. There is some good stuff in that.
Mhm. Yeah,
John,
it had a certain flow and it had an intimacy with it. Like I couldn't really read the Bible because I found it, it did not interest me. But that part itself, that Psalms, is what actually spoke to me.
Sure, the Bible is a little dry. I give you that. Yeah.
Yeah, unless you have a good group to stuff like you guys.
Right.
Yeah, before
There are dry spells. Even for us, there are dry spells. I mean, getting through Leviticus is pretty rough, even for us.
yeah, it was rough. But
I mean,
I can never
and
get
you
it.
shall take the bird and pour its blood on the
I guarantee
altar.
you, like if somebody told me to read Leviticus, I would just laugh at them. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Every year when we were reading the Parsha straight through for that 2 years, our viewer and participation levels dropped.
You know what's funny? And I participated in some of those, and I actually enjoyed it.
Well, yeah.
I actually enjoy. I could never imagine that I would enjoy Leviticus in my lifetime. There was no way.
John, your beard is like a flock of goats running down a hill.
Thank you. It's that majestic, huh? I actually have been letting it grow just like freely. I haven't been. I usually cut it and trim it, but I've been just letting it free flow. Thank you for saying that, Daniel.
It's been a while since I read that book, but I remember some of the stuff in it.
Speaking of the Torah sometimes being dry, I went to it was either, I think it was a bar bat mitzvah, and the kids' Torah portion for that week was mostly about Nilvah. Like, I don't know, like that would have to be like one of the most embarrassing portions and like the hardest to talk about when you're like 12 or 13 years old.
Which one again?
It was it was mostly about like woman's like sexual purity and like, yeah.
I've always said it as Nada. Is that you're talking about the woman's menstrual cycle?
Yeah,
it could be pronounced either way.
Okay. Yeah, that would be hard for a boy to have a bar mitzvah and have to do that.
I don't know. Do you think that should we go for the old? I think we can all agree that keeping the law is the basis of good mental health. Following the behavior first, and the rest would come later. Getting back to food, I really think, and I'm going to get hardcore on everybody here as we getting up to the end of our live portion here, but if the way that a lot of our meat is slaughtered nowadays, the animals aren't always dead before they start getting on them. They stun the animal first, and then they start hacking away. They don't test to see if the animal's dead. They say it's more humane. It's only humane for the people butchering the animal and more convenient. So, what do you think you're eating in those final moments of life of that critter? Is it someone who has their hand on the neck of the animal? Does the animal know that it's going to be elevated? Does the animal understand what's happening? Is that what we're putting in our bodies? We wonder why we have mental disorders and why maybe our behavior is sporadic and fearful. Maybe it might have something to do with the meat that we're eating, because of in those final seconds, the chemicals that run through the body when you're frightened, when you know things. That's in the bloodstream. That's in the fats. That's in the meat. Just something to consider.
My last question for everyone, since we've talked about, what's good for us and what's bad for us, my last question is, what do we do about it? In Leviticus 19:16, it says, "Do not stand by idly by the blood of thy neighbor." You're not supposed to be passive when you see another person in danger. And the sages indicate if one sees a person drowning or being attacked by robbers, he or she should do everything to rescue the person in Sanhedrin 73a. The Chafetz Chaim, based on this verse, in his work Shemirat HaLashon, taught that one should not withhold information from which he can save another from death or any type of damage. The Talmud further states that those who have the capacity to eliminate a wrong and do not do so bear the responsibility for its consequence, and that's in Shabbat 54b. So what are we going to do about it now that we know what's good for us, know what's bad for us, both mentally and physically? How are we going to, make sure that we ourselves are healthy, but also that those around us that we care about are healthy?
I like that question you asked the room about how we're going to be proud soldiers in Hashem's army. That's a good question. It's a good question.
Well, I don't know about me being able to change other people's eating habits. I might be able to influence it, but as far as myself, I've tried to start eating a little more biblically. Some of the foods that were mentioned tonight, some of my favorite foods. And even with 32 of the most healthiest foods, you're still not going to get all the nutrients that you need. Going back to the kosher meat issue, if there were enough Noahides, Ger, whatever, that went out and actually started participating in buying kosher meat from a kosher supplier, that would in turn diminish the demand for non-kosher meat, and perhaps it may just cause them to reconsider their practices and begin to do it in a kosher fashion. If that were the case, considering that there's no shortage of supply, it's just that the way, if it were processed differently, then yes, the benefits would be exponential. But that's provided there are enough non-Jewish individuals interested in participating in just making sure that they buy the kosher meat.
Yeah, I'm going to second that. I'm going to lead by example for now on. I'm going to emulate exactly how I think should be done. A leader, right? If you really are a source of light, it will brighten up the darkness, right? Take a flashlight and you point it at the sun, it's not really going to do anything. Yes, there's light protruding from the flashlight, sure, but it gets drowned out by the light of the rays from the sun, correct, Fistache? But if you point that flashlight in a dark room, what does it do? It illuminates the entire room. Then you can see. You lead by example. You be your true leader. The beautiful chapter, Isaiah 53. We all know of Isaiah 53. People say it's about our good friend Yashka. By the way, friend of the show. Jesus is a friend of the show, by the way. Good friend. Probably more on our side than anyone else, if you think about it, James. If you really think about it, right? That passage is really about what we should be doing. If we really are leaders, if we really are truly passionate about this topic, Hadassah, we would really feel the burden, the pains. That chapter 53 is really talking about us, every one of us in the room. True leaders feel the burden, feel the abuse that the people are feeling. And when you really see the pain and suffering that people are dying from the sickness of disease and eating wrong and cancer and animal abuse, it should hurt you. It should pain you to see that. It should pierce you. You know what I'm saying? A real leader should feel the problems of his peoples. So that's what I wanted to throw in there. second what Ross had said.
I think we're going to end the live portion of the broadcast. Today we do this. Please join us if you want to chat and get into it. Nilvah Nexus Facebook page, Nilvah Nexus group here on Google Plus. On behalf of Brookie Lee, Frank, Hadassah, Yohanan, Justin B, Chris, Ross, Rosalie, self. Shabbat shalom, y'all. Be well.
Shabbat shalom.